Okay, this is the final build video for the barn door or Planky version 4, whichever you want to call it. I actually got Planky 3.0 out. I got a spar on the other one, and I'll pull that out in a minute and show you. But first thing I want to do is talk about where the CG is. CG is going to be from the tip of the nose. You're going to go about 210, 215 millimeters. Right there, that's where your CG point is going to be. I actually have a line at 208 and 223, and my fingers fit actually right in that spot, or else I'll show you a spar fits there. I'll show you that in a minute. Let's first go talk about bottom hinged Elevons. And what I mean by that is when you mount Elevons, you cut this notch out so there's room for it to move. Well, normally you would put it so that notch is on the bottom, you can't see it. That's called top hinging. What we want is to bottom hinge it so that it's totally flat and that hinge is on top. This is a specification by Peter Wick, specifically for the PW51 airfoil that we used here. As far as travel, for reflex, just default reflex, you want to go just about 5 to 8 millimeters up. From if this is 0, 5 millimeters up. That's no hands on the stick, just straight flight. And again, these are just starter numbers to get you in the air. Yours is going to weigh slightly different, but these will at least get you a controllable plane so it's not crazy. As far as I like to fly with elevator and aileron with 30% expo on both. Now, as far as travel for elevator all the way back, that should travel 14 millimeters up. And then when you do a full aileron movement, that should only go 12 millimeters up. And again, so those numbers will get you a controllable plane. But it's always good to have a high-low switch too. Let me see what else is on my list. I'll show you how I do CG in a minute, but let me show you how I got the lead in this one because it's kind of obvious to see. What I'll do is I'll put a container right here and I'll keep putting lead on it until I get it balanced, and then I'll hog out the foam, and I'll usually I'll mix lead BBs and like 15-minute epoxy in a cup and stir it up, and then I'll pour it in there. And then if there's still voids, put some foam back in there, or as you can see, I got some Gorilla Glue and kind of let that fill up, cut it back down. And then I'll re-laminate this area. So that's how I get it makes a super hard nose, and when you hit, the nose doesn't get damaged because it's literally epoxy and lead. So there's that. Let's show you how I kind of found this trick a few years ago. Once I mark that 210 millimeter CG point, I actually will find some type of a round dowel, in this case a carbon tube cut off, and I'll put this on there, and it's a lot easier than trying to put your fingers up every time getting that exact spot. This is right on CG. And then it rests there. And then I'll put some type of a container, as I said, right here, and I'll just keep weighing it down until finally it hits that balance. And then that's exactly how much lead you then need to cut open, hog it out, pour that in there, reseal it. So that's just my little trick. Makes it a lot easier than every time putting more weight on, putting your fingers under there, and then like something tips and all your lead goes flying. Let's see, I got my list. CG, spars, lead, bottom hinge, reflex. Oh yeah. So the final thing is the ballast. I've done it two different ways, and there's probably more ways, but one is I'll tape off one end and I'll fill it up with lead, and then I'll pour like 15, maybe even 30-minute epoxy, the thinner you have, maybe even warm it up a little bit, and I'll let it like soak down in. And so essentially it's lead with epoxy in the voids that holds it together, and that works fine. But if you want the most weight possible, what I actually do now is I have this smelting ladle, and I'll use a propane torch with lead in there and heat it up. It heats up pretty quick, and then I'll just pour that in there, and then it becomes solid lead. There's no air voids, and you get a lot more weight out of it. So I think that is the final build on this. Still not sure if these screw attachments were a good idea or not. I guess we'll find out in the crash. But yeah, hopefully that answers all the setup questions and gets you flying. And I look forward to hearing any questions or maidens or flights. So hope you enjoy it.